Buck and Angela, Gary Apple inside our SNY studios. Good to have you with us. Andy Martino is here as well, along with Anthony Recker. Welcome to the Mets. I do want to begin, Buck, with something you said during your introduction right there, was the fact that you understand what this job is all about. That's to be the last team standing. I want to get your take on what you think is a common thread that weaves between the lines and inside that clubhouse when it comes to winning baseball teams.
First of all, I love the shrinking violet. That was good. Shrinking violet.
That was mine. Thank you.
But the common denominators of the last team standing, obviously pitching. You know, be able to catch the baseball. You know, I think it was obvious very early on that Billy and I and Sandy shared a love for good defenders. And I think things that make leads matter, whether it be a bullpen, whether it be defense. I think there's nothing that weighs on the morale of a team more than when leads evaporate and you can't hold on to things, especially late in the game, especially at home. There's so many emotional challenges in a season. So, and I'd say another common denominator is that the front office and the people down in the dugout and in the clubhouse are on the same page, and they have a real respect for what everybody brings. You know, it's a real we. Yeah, sometimes it's us against the world thing can work against you. You know, not everybody's your enemy, okay? And, you know, especially like dealing with media, it's not something you're gonna win. I mean, you're not trying to win the battle. You're just trying to coexist and have respect for each other. And it's hard enough as it is without creating some problems that you could have stayed away from if you'd been more proactive.
Buck, do you think it's different managing in New York than it is in other places? And if so, what are the challenges of managing in this town?
Yes and no. Okay, sometimes I think we have a corner on pressure, but there's just the thing I love is the sense of urgency in the day-to-day. And from a managing standpoint, there's certain things that the fans and the people take care of for you because, you know, nothing exposes a phony faster than New York. I mean, it's if you've got a pure heart, you know, a long time ago, a great Met, David Cohn, I remember he was outside my office in New York, and he had his third tough outing in a row, I think. And they're all around, and I remember David going, I told him this later at the Yes Network, he said, well, you know, they asked him about booing him, and he said, well, you know, they're waiting to embrace me. It's up to me to give them something to embrace me about. And it really hit home with me that, you know, you control that. And it's not, as long as you're fair and you're playing with effort and you care and, you know, you care what your teammates think, you know, you control it. It's not something that some media outlet, there's no place, you know, that will embrace you quicker if you bring what needs to be brought. So, yeah, there's certain things that I try to turn it into an advantage instead of a thing that somebody is worried about.
Hey, Buck, it's Andy Martino. I haven't known you as long as many of these other New York reporters, but I think I can say confidently that you're not a shrinking violet. I love
that. We got to hear that intro, and that was great.
Oh, good. I'm glad you liked it. I had a baseball question. I'm going to audible it, and I'll ask you later if we have the time. But we've been watching Angela sit next to you, certainly, for the past 70 minutes or so. You've mentioned her a few times as a real collaborator, going back to your time as a minor league manager. What has that partnership been like for you? And certainly, you know, how has that partnership that you have with Angela helped you develop as a baseball person, as a manager? And Angela, if you want to jump in and answer that, don't feel obligated, but feel free, of course.
Well, I'll tell you this, you know, we got married in '83. We've been married 38 years, and it's a collaboration, okay, whether it be kids or travel or where you live in another city. She's already making a lot of moves, but believe me, make no doubt about who runs this operation. I bring in home those charts in 1984, 5, 6, all those years for her to fill out so we knew where guys were hitting the ball in the New York Penn League. I appreciate it. I don't know if I've ever properly thanked her.
You have.
Go ahead, you answer.
You know, I will say that the one part of it that I feel like that I can help is, you know, you do have, these players all have families, whether it's their grandmother that's coming or their parents or aunts and uncles, their wives, their children. players having, I feel like we now have 4 grandsons, and I kind of was more up to speed on all the baby gear because of being around baseball wives and having kids. And so there is that part, like when you get into the playoffs, how to navigate, you have to, the team, they get on their plane, you try to make that as smooth and as seamless for the families too, because if the wife is struggling and has little kids, that impacts the player too. So that's the part that I always try to kind of talk to him a little bit and say, because I have seen it change a lot of just the way the travel is, and these people all become your family, and so you have to be, like I said, very sensitive to making sure that everybody's welcome and they're feeling a part. Somebody gets traded in the middle of the season, they don't know anyone, and it's become easier today with the social media and the players' wives. But that's where I always want to help him, because I don't want, I've been there through a lot of different teams and traveling through the minor leagues, and so you just try to help make it easier.
I tell the players all the time that the 2 toughest things you'll ever do in your life is be a good father and a good husband, and that's where your priority should always be. And I think Angela has helped everybody, and especially me, keep that in mind.
Hey, Buck. Hey, Angela. Anthony Recker here. Look, first of all, it's great to hear you both talk about family and family first. I think that's fantastic, and it's a great way to go about anyone's priority list. But getting back to the interview that you just had, or the press conference you just had, you spoke about vulnerability. And in particular, you talked about basically forming bridges to the players in order to get the most out of them. How do you foster that environment? How do you create that environment so that every player feels vulnerable with you, you feel vulnerable with them, and there's an ability for you all to have the capability to be empathetic and work towards one goal together?
That's the $1 million question. And everybody's got this magic answer that sounds well verbally, but it's like you just want to show through actions, and every situation is different. There's not some blueprint for it. You don't say, okay, here's some analytical blueprint on how you have a relationship with a player. What might be different for X player, I can't even name names. This is really frustrating, but so, and it's what do they want to be about? What do they need? And it's not about you. If you bring your ego as a manager or a coach or something, they might want to, your background as a coach, player, or whatever may get you in the door, but that's going to last a very short period of time. What are you going to bring? I just think that consistency of message, if you say, this is how I want you to act, and this is the culture we're going to have, show me. There's a fine line between being sympathetic and empathetic. I'm not much into sympathetic ears. The cop comes out of police academy, he's got all the right ways to treat people from all walks of life, and then all of a sudden they stick him with some old veteran cop says, I don't listen to them, let me show you all the shortcuts. That's not good. We don't need the bad veteran cop. If our people are, the weight of your words are very important, publicly and privately. And you need to understand that what you do, your actions and your words reflect on your teammates, your fans, and your organization. So, if you got a problem with that, you're probably going to be in the wrong place.
Buck and Angela, we know it's a very busy day for both of you. We want to say congratulations on the job and spending a few minutes with us. We look forward to working with you throughout the course of the year. Happy holidays to you and your family.
Thank you, guys. Thanks for having us.